best entertainment on the earth. Tune in for Comics with Perch.
Hey everybody, this is Perch. People are asking about villains lately. We had the video about the Joker, so here's another mail from a viewer who asks, hey Perch, seriously, do you think that Marvel can even use the Red Skull anymore as a villain? It feels like recently the Red Skull has either been portrayed as a one-note silly villain to get easily defeated because we don't want a Nazi to get too powerful in the comics, even though that character is evil, or the Red Skull is used as this vague, shadowy character who's out to do dastardly things, but we don't know what those things are, and we never do. I don't really know if that has that been happening? Anyway, do you think the Red Skull has to be retired at Marvel, and do you think there are other villains like that who no longer work? Okay, so this kind of goes to the doesn't age well kind of topic that went out a few days ago, but first off, I absolutely think the Red Skull is viable as a character, but it does require a couple things. It requires a little bit of, it's not even bravery. I mean, this is one of the most backward conversations that I have around comics, and it comes up regularly. I've talked about this. I think people don't quite believe it, but it's one of the things I can't quite wrap my head around, which is writers struggle to use really evil characters that do truly evil, hateful things, particularly when those things are truly kind of racist or bigoted or awful. They have to put out those characters like they're silly and dopey and easily defeated by like a little. If you get a misogynist character, you have to allow for even like a little girl to just be able to go and like kick the guy in the knee and easily defeat them. And because if you don't do it that way, then somebody might think, and I've been told this firsthand, I've mentioned this before, somebody will think that you actually approve of sexism or mistreating women or, any of these kind of terrible things because you wrote a character that does that. And the pushback I always get to, and this is always what I say in the conversations, is like, but that character is the villain. The character is the bad guy. Like, I don't understand why anyone would, come at the writer if they're writing a bad guy and portraying the bad guy as a bad guy. I mean, it's a villain character. I don't get it. I flat don't get it. I think that it's villains should be villainous. Villains should be as sadistic and evil as humanly possible, and then the heroes beat them. Now, if you write if you write a comic with a horrible, awful villain character, and then you proceed to I don't know, have the villain win. And have the hero like, well, I guess in the end the villain was correct, and it is a good idea to beat women. I mean, like if you write the comic that way, then yeah, somebody's gonna look at you sideways. But if you write the villain to be villainous, and the villain is super awful and tortures the hero or like puts the hero in a really bad spot, and the hero has to dig deep and work really hard to defeat the villain and all the rest. I mean, that is correct. Yes, that is what you should do. It feels like at one point, some jackass on Facebook or Twitter bitched that there was oh, look at this comic featuring the Red Skull. Marvel must like Nazis, and people at Marvel panicked. They were like, "Oh my God, we can't." They're saying we like Nazis. Quick, make the character get defeated easy. I mean, just make the character stupid, because we can't have them thinking we like Nazis. I mean, my God. And it's just the dumbest. This is the dumbest thing in the world. The Red Skull. I mean, look, the Red Skull is what in many cases the Red Skull is a gimme for Marvel. If you want to kind of really, do a story about the evils of Hitler and Nazis and racism and it's very fashionable. We want to talk about Nazis. Cool. The Red Skull is a Nazi. Is a Nazi. What's even weirder is they've kind of inferred in the comics at times. It's like The Red Skull's like, even I'm not as bad as Hitler. I don't go for all that Nazi stuff. I just I'm not even joking. There was a comic where they had the Red Skull going like, I don't sign off on all that Hitler stuff. It's kind of like the comic where the Joker is like, I may be a sadistic, murdering psychopath who kills people indiscriminately, but I'm not a Nazi. It's like, dude, you when you cross the line into mass murdering psychopath, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to throw that out there. It doesn't matter. Are you a mass murdering psychopath who does care about the environment? Sorry, the whole mass murder kind of nullifies whatever good things you have going on. It's like, well, this person is a serial killer, murdered thousands of people, but does like puppies. So I mean, how bad can they be? Like bad. Turns out bad. Uh, this is one of the more baffling aspects of comics at times. It's like, just be comfortable with the villain being a villain. It's okay. They are a villain. Now, if you were creating a character for the Avengers, and they're like, who'd be a good member of the Avengers? Nazi. That's a bad idea. You don't put a Nazi on the Avengers. Now, if it's the Masters of Evil, yeah, Nazi. See how that works? Villain. It's okay to write these characters, but to the letter writer's point, I don't think it does anybody any good, the heroes, the villains, anything, to have a silly Billy, white supremacist character who just wanders around shouting at things, and then the hero comes up and like pop you on the nose, and then the white supremacists immediately defeated. Part of why I think that's stupid, and this is where it like goes against the very thing they're trying to do, is it diminishes kind of the evil of white supremacy or Nazis. I mean, if we believe those are bad things, and I believe those are bad things, bad people, bad things, then I don't think they should be dopey, goofballs that we're meant to laugh at. I think it's better to portray them as a serious, deadly, villainous threat, and then have the heroes go kick their ass. That's what you do. And you don't need to get too horny about kicking their ass right away. You can have I mean, hell, do a 6-issue arc, have the Red Skull do something super villainous, super terrible. How's the hero going to get out of this one? Nobody knows. It's going to be tough because he's figured it out, and he's going to do something really bad, and then have Captain America pulls one out and defeats the Red Skull. Cool, feel good story of the year. But you don't need to do that in like 3 pages. Like they use this stuff in anthologies half the time, and it's like, take your time. Take your time, build up the threat, have the threat gets defeated. The threat, it's more satisfying to defeat the threat when you've built up the threat. Like I don't. This is Jeff Thorpe. We got to get you back on the show. I'd love to just say, like, I'd like to talk to you directly. Like what the hell, Jeff? Like, no, he's not. He, by the way, Jeff has never said anything along these lines. We've talked, on the show plenty. I think he finds this absurd as anyone else. I'm not putting words in his mouth, so we should hear from him directly. But I mean, what even gives with this? Like, you want to, you need to be able to have, whatever is threatening your hero, be it the Joker, be it Darkseid, be it the Red Skull, be it Baron Zemo, whatever it is, that villain should be a really significant challenge for the hero to overcome. And then you do have the hero overcome that challenge, but you're not taking a stance against racism by writing the Red Skull as a incompetent dope. That doesn't help quote the cause. It's just wrong. So anyway, but long story short, there's plenty of mileage with the Red Skull. The Red Skull can be a great villain. You do not need to make the Red Skull Jordan Peterson. That is also stupid. Just, I mean, again, don't screw with the things that are handed to you on a silver platter. The Red Skull is an evil, maniacal, irredeemable, bad guy villain. He is a, as they say on Twitter, a literal Nazi. And You don't need to make it more complicated than that. There he is. He's bad. He's cunning and clever, but morally bankrupt and terrible and an awful, evil, mass murdering psychopath. Just roll out the villain, let him do his plot, defeat him. The end. That's it. Easy as that. That's where I think. So I think it's not hard. Now, it clearly is very hard for Marvel right now because they seem very confused about what to do with their villains and how they should treat them and how they should handle all that stuff. And that is baffling. It's very, very weird why they've gotten themselves into that state. So it may be that, yeah, it's impossible for Marvel to figure out how to use the Red Skull, but it doesn't have to be that way. There's no reason that needs to be the case. That's Marvel doing it to themselves. They do not need to have that stupid mess going on. So hopefully they can adjust. Is what you hope. Anyway, good question, but aggravating question. And to be clear, the Red Skull is not my favorite villain. I mean, the problem with the Red Skull is he is too one dimensional as a villain character. He doesn't have a lot going on. But what he does have going on is obvious and straightforward and hard to screw up. Meaning he's a Nazi who tries to do Nazi things, and Captain America needs to come in and kick his ass. And that's really all that you got with that character. I'm exaggerating. You can certainly Grinwald did masterful Red Skull storylines. It can absolutely be done, but there's just it's a very basic character. There's not a lot of nuance there. So the only way you screw up that character is if you. It's hard. I think it's much harder to screw up the Red Skull than it is the Joker. I think the Joker, has different elements to him, like the other video, and I think they've done things to kind of overplay him. But still, you got a lot to work with the Joker. But the Red Skull, not really. Just he wants to kill people. The end. Heroes should keep him from killing people. Ah, well. Thanks for listening.